everybody, welcome to my YouTube channel. Today we're going to be watching Why is Dark Souls 1 a Masterpiece? I think it's actually the greatest Dark Souls game of all time. I used to speedrun DS3, but I did do a DS1 deathless run, and I hope that this is not a joke title. So let's check it out!
What's this? Dark Souls? Well,
Best
I've
game
heard
ever!
It. They say it's pretty hard. But at this point in time, the game's difficulty hasn't been beaten like a dead horse by crappy, unoriginal game journalists. And for those reasons, I'll check it out.
Dun, 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 dun. Kino music, man. Wait, this is actually really sad. I think the lady who did the voiceover for DS1 actually passed away today. Oh my god, I did not mean to click listen. She was so good.
What the fuck did I just play?
Peak, you played Peak.
That was pretty much my exact reaction upon starting and completing Dark Souls for the first time.
It's so good.
It was the most bizarre feeling I'd gotten after beating a video game. I felt accomplished, yet empty at the same time. I felt like I hadn't even scratched the surface. Like I just played through the whole thing wearing a blindfold. I must have missed something. Something that explains what the hell I was doing. I didn't know it at the time, or at any point during my first playthrough. But there was much more to Dark Souls than I could have imagined. Something that has since become so muddled within
What did that say?
Souls than I could have imagined. Something that has since become so
The United States Golf Association, which governs the event, has taken this idea and turned the difficulty up to a level where it is less of a game of golf, more of a game of Dark Souls with golf clubs. What? You start beating up somebody on the what is it called, on the green? You start beating somebody up and you're bling plong, you're like, oh, it's over. Oh no.
muddled within games journalism.
Huge control over the experience. What is happening? Dark Souls of 2D Dark Souls.
Almost like an unintentional smear campaign that's made people forget what truly mattered when it came to Dark Souls.
True!
And what gave it such a well-known reputation in the first place. Being able to sum up a video game in the words, "It's popular because it's hard, LOL." Laugh out loud. Is a nice little gimmick if you want to market the game easily to a bunch of people, but it doesn't elaborate on much of anything.
Yes.
Dark Souls has been heralded as one of the greatest games of all time.
True!
That is an exclusive club. It's gotten countless awards, spawned a whole franchise and style of games. Sorry, Demon Souls. And has captivated.
I just really didn't like Demon Souls. I don't know why. I played all of the Dark Souls games, but that one I just really didn't have that much fun. Maybe it's because the walkbacks. I don't know, the walkbacks are pretty bad.
Mainstream and hardcore audiences alike. It's done all these things for good reason, and while a good challenge, a hard-to-master difficulty, and a cryptic, open-ended story all played a big role in its success, it doesn't truly explain why Dark Souls 1 is so awesome. And that's exactly what I'm here to do.
A morbid curiosity. Oh yeah, and I didn't like World Tendency either. That was like no fun at all.
There's been an argument against video games for many years, claiming they aren't true art.
Great chest ahead. Look at that. Come on. That is definitely art. You can basically like grab them. Actually, you can't grab them, but you can shoot them with the bow.
Now, if I were to choose one game that I'd force those dickbags to sit down and play from start to finish in hopes of changing their minds, my first choice is Dark Souls and BioShock 1. Because this is the
Based! Guys, I've never seen this guy's videos before, but holy crap, I loved BioShock. It was so good. I remember I played it with the first pair of headphones I ever bought when I got my job. And I remember they cost $100, and I went, that's 2 days of work. I'm gonna have to work 2 days in a row.
type of experience that you could show an English teacher or a poetry class, and they'd be like, yeah, can you make me 50 copies of this exact experience, but in novel form, so we can go to extreme lengthy discussions about the significance of
the curtains?
Seriously, that's one of the game's biggest appeals. Just like poems and certain stories, the meaning you can find within is not always in plain sight. Dark Souls is no different because you have to take a close look at it to understand what the fuck it's trying to say and what in God's name is going on. Without abstract thinking and interpretation, you won't be able to get much out of Dark Souls' story.
Yeah.
From the moment you start in the Undead Asylum to the final showdown with literally Zeus but
cool.
cooler, the motivations and reasoning behind what you're doing is kept very vague. You're dropped into this huge forsaken world with no real direction except to ring a bell.
There are actually 2 bells of awakening.
Oh yeah, wait, aren't the bells the gargoyles? And then I think the other bell is for Quaylag. She is so pretty. I don't care. I guess I like monsters. I'm a monster-loving girl. Who's gonna shame me for that?
Or ring 2 bells, I guess.
Yeah.
You might even breeze through the whole game without taking a second to look around, talk to people, or read item descriptions.
A lot of item
Anyways,
descriptions.
at surface value, one might look at Dark Souls and think, ugh, just another generic RPG with dragons, knights, swords, and magic. How many times have we seen that? I bet it was made by British people, too. But then once you start getting into it, it's like, wait a minute, why am I ringing 2 bells? Who the fuck's this asshole?
I
what
hate
the
him.
Shit?
Dude, that boss he just showed is the worst boss in the game because if you die to it, everybody points and laughs at you. It's literally shameful. Everybody will laugh and it will hurt you on every level.
There's demons now? Okay. Man, what's with the goddamn poison? What is this
He just likes
place?
poison,
I
I
was just in
think.
a swamp killing giant mosquitoes, then I find this huge tree, and now I'm on this enormous lake fighting a 7-headed
Hydra!
dragon and fucking clams? What am I playing right now?
And the clams are scary, man. They clam slam you so hard.
What the hell is that?
love him!
Why does that dragon look so weird? Why is it breathing crystals and shit? Ah! And it's this idea of not knowing. These questions in your
Priscilla.
mind that you don't have answers for. This feeling of being out of the loop on everything but the bare essentials that creates this undying morbid curiosity.
I still don't know who this guy is, by the way. The one that's sitting right there, like, super spread wide open. He always freaked me out.
Shit's pretty fucked up in Lordran, and you want to find out why. That's one of Dark Souls' greatest strengths, is it's so atypical in its presentation.
I love this boss.
Most mainstream games are pretty straightforward in this regard because they need to have a story that babies can understand.
True.
Which makes it all the more puzzling how Dark Souls was able to appeal to such a wide audience. Because you can't go through the game and not be constantly asking questions. The plot is minimalistic, and it's up to the player to come to their own conclusions. You fill in the blanks, and there's a fuck ton of blanks to fill in. You see this, Sea of Thieves? That's how you create your own fun.
Whoa, and look at how long these descriptions are, too. That is insane. Wait, this isn't Extra Life, is it? I remember there was, like, some controversy with that.
Now, there's always the possibility that by making your story vague and confusing, it ends up making no sense and being vague and confusing.
Yeah.
But then there's the other side where you have a unclear story, but the experience is so enchanting it makes you want to know more.
Would you like to know more?
I still don't know who that guy is either. I just remember he throats you, you get bored, and you go, well, that was awesome.
And that's what Dark Souls accomplishes,
Oh,
so
she's
it
a
doesn't fall
badass.
into the plain old just bad storytelling category. But let's pull back this layer of dragon scales and actually look at what Dark Souls offers within its narrative. Let's
looking
take
at
a
me.
look at the depth within the onion.
Yes! I need this video, actually. Oh, not the depths.
I think anytime there's a series of books, movies, TV shows, video games, or whatever, and there's enough interest in the lore and background of that series to fuel
Concept art looks so
1.2
cool.
million subscribers into a YouTube channel.
Oh, yeah, Vati! People clap Vati. He is so good at compiling everything, and then you feel like you just kind of get it.
Yeah, I think it's safe to say people are interested.
Yeah.
The amount of fan theories and lore explanation videos on this series should tell you all you need to know about how involved gamers are with the story. An interesting tidbit I read was the idea that the item descriptions in-game are actually the player character's thoughts. Probably not true,
I've never
but
heard that.
some items become much more interesting when you look at things that way.
That's
and that's the
cool.
great thing about interpretive stories, the way you look at it. Dark Souls is fucking deep. You don't need me to tell you that. And there's plenty of reasons why. So many that I don't have time to explain them all. Well, for one, ambient music is basically
Onion Bro.
non-existent. There's a total of 4 areas in the entire game, excluding boss battles, where music plays.
I never noticed that. I think it's because I did so many challenge runs that I basically just played my own music anyway. I didn't know DS1 was so quiet. I was just listening to some like Coconut Mall or something like that.
Firelink Shrine, Daughters of Chaos Bonfire, Guinevere's Hot and Steamy Bedroom,
Yeah!
and Ash Lake. If you played through Dark Souls, then you know each one of these areas are vitally important. And the music creates a unique tone and feeling for each one.
I do like that
Sadness
sound.
and sorrow.
Aww.
Hope and faith.
Oh, yeah. I knew he was gonna zoom in. It's so regal, though. Like, even the sound design is great. Like, you can hear the music and you can tell that she is, like, powerful or royal. It's really cool.
Magnificence and awe.
And I like when the songs go, oh.
This lack of music creates a feeling of isolation for the majority of the experience.
Yeah.
This means there's nothing to distract you from the world you're in. The only things that follow you through Lordran are the sound of your footsteps and clanking armor.
Yeah, and it's loud. See, I never dealt with that either because I was always naked. I don't know. I just love to play Dark Souls games with no clothes on. That sounds really bad out of context. I promise when I'm streaming, I'm wearing clothes.
And you hear music much more powerful as a result. The combat is deep too, and we'll talk about that a bit later. But what I find to be the single greatest thing about Dark Souls is how everything is connected. Not just in map layout, but in items, bosses, enemies, NPCs. They all connect together to form a greater whole.
And it doesn't even feel like you're changing areas. I know that sounds weird, but like they're all connected so well that they really do feel like they're a part of the same universe.
Take the classic gameplay element of dying and respawning. In pretty much every other video game except BioShock, once again, the concept of respawning has little to no explanation at all. Because it's just a video game.
Yeah. I've never played this. I kind of want to.
But in Dark Souls, death and respawns aren't just gameplay mechanics, they're part of the story.
Which is
you
cool!
You are an undead, branded with the dark sign, which means you cannot truly die.
How do you kill that
I just watched this the other day.
Each death brings you closer to hollowing, a concept we'll explore later on. So you're linked to the fire, you are linked to the flame, and as long as there are bonfires, you will keep coming back. It's not often you see a game that has justification for its gameplay mechanics written into its lore.
Yeah, then I can say I died on purpose because it was for the story. I never thought about that.
Let me ask you, have you ever thought about what Estus actually is?
Sunny
and why
D?
it heals you? Most people probably saw it as any other item that restores health, because it's just a video game. Hearts, potions, medkits, food, magical green herbs that definitely isn't weed.
I always thought that was drugs.
Melody. Games never explain why you get healed from this shit, because it really doesn't matter.
Yeah.
But in Dark Souls, it does. Estus is bottled fire, people. That's why it refills at the bonfire. You capture the...
Oh, that's really what it is? I've been calling it Sunny D for way too long.
flame in your flask. Dark Souls is about disparity between life and death, fire and darkness, and the bonfires are beacons of life.
That lean.
Miracles come from Gwyn and his faithful knights. Pyromancy comes from the Witch of Izalith and her Daughters of Chaos. And sorcery comes from Seath the Danceless. These gameplay tools have reason to be in the game beyond their immediate use. You could run through the list of items, mechanics, tools, and weapons and connect each one of them as pieces to form the greater whole of Dark Souls' universe, story, and lore. And that's the beauty of this game. That's where the depth comes from.
I recently rebought Dark Souls, but the original version, I think, for Xbox, and I played it, and it played like total shit. And now I super appreciate the Steam version of the game. It's way better. They fixed a lot. Purpose and theme. I feel like I'm writing an essay.
Now, the story, meaning, and purpose behind Dark Souls is riddled with obscurity and has plenty of room for different interpretations.
Which is cool.
While I could turn this video into something that discusses nothing but the lore for 40+ minutes, I'm more or less going to highlight what I think are the most important themes or messages that Dark Souls tries to hammer home. The things I learned. I encourage you to share your own thoughts as well. So we have the basic premise of the player being an undead in an asylum, where they're all corralled to await the end of the world.
This is your fate.
Oh, it's
Well, that's a pretty shitty fate right there. But homeboy Oscar breaks you out because there's a prophecy.
Oh,
The
thank you,
chosen
Oscar!
undead, who's supposed to travel to Lordran and ring the bells of awakening. And when you do that...
The fate of the undead thou shalt know.
So right off the bat, we want to know what's going to happen to the undead. What's going to happen to us, all these NPCs, all these,
Onion
roaming
bro!
hollows. That question is put into your mind from the very beginning.
Yeah, do you guys kill him or do you let him live? I always killed him. Like, do you personally do it yourself? I always did it myself.
Cutscenes are rare, and none are more jam-packed with information than the opening. What this scene showcases is how man came to be, how they became gods, how they took the world by storm and destroyed the previous regime to create their own. When fire was created, we learned of our existence. We strove to discover, explore, and build. And we found soul within the flame, metaphorically and physically.
Cool.
Incidentally, you could look at the real-world discovery of fire by primitive man as arguably the most revolutionary thing to happen in the history of human beings. Once we found fire, the world was forever changed around us.
Yeah, then we got a free drink that we could have like maybe 5 of before we gotta go back.
But remember one thing. Always fear the flame, lest you be devoured by it and lose yourself.
Oh, it's like Fent! Huh.
I would hate to see that happen again.
So much of what Dark Souls presents is relatable to the real world. You can interpret the idea of prolonging the Age of Fire or ushering in the Age of Dark as a message on the rise and fall of civilizations. For example, the Roman Empire thrived for centuries, but eventually its flames.
Maybe TikTok was onto something. If you're a guy, are you always thinking about the Roman Empire at least once a week? It came into the video!
Faded, and despite their best efforts to keep the Age of Romans alive, nothing could stop the coming dark. How long will our age last? The old Roman deities were cast aside, replaced with a new god and his son. Just as you can become the harbinger of a new age in Dark Souls, the Age of Dark. The typical Lord of Darkness trope in fantasy stories works better in the world of Lordran than most other stories. I really enjoy the ambiguity of the endings because it's great for speculation.
And then everybody can have their own interpretation, which I think is way better than story being like, and we were all happily ever after. Okay, cool.
And what I saw in these endings is that they are rooted in polar opposite ideas.
Yeah.
That of self-sacrifice and self-preservation.
Wait, I didn't know that there was more than one of him. You can get throated by like 6 of him.
Martyrdom or apathy. But as we all know,
apathy is death.
maybe Dark Souls is meant to portray the calamity and hopelessness of knowing the empire, the civilization you serve, the place you call home is coming to an end.
Yeah.
How do you deal with the coming dread? In this sense, the undead and the dark could be seen as the always present threat of a tide of people
feel
who
bad
are
killing
bound to
her.
one day replace your way of life with their own.
No! That means they're gonna want me to clean my room. Please just let me live in filth.
Swathed in dark.
Coolest character design ever, by the way.
This theme of different ages collapsing and rising is present in both sequels, which means it's definitely something the designers wanted you to think about.
Yes, and DS3 was great about it. DS3 had one of the coolest, awesomest, most amazing story progressions ever. I love DS3. I don't care. It's so good.
One theme that sticks out very well in the Dark Souls experience is perseverance.
Yeah, keep going.
The undead, or humans, are weak, fragile creatures. The enemies that don't outmatch you in size will simply outnumber you. Throughout the game, you encounter
why you run
several
away.
bodies with helpful items, and while most of them could be looked at as simply items left by the developers for the player, I see a deeper meaning. Because why is it that most every item you find is tied to a corpse?
The corpses that carry dragon scales in Ash Lake could be seen at as the fallen followers of the Stone Dragon. Oh.
Isn't that strange? It's because every one of those things was left behind by the person who died there.
Oh my god, that's way more scary when you think about that. I just always went, yippee, Crystal Halberd! Yippee, Black Knight Halberd! I didn't even think that these were dead people, and I even killed the Black Knight myself.
Individually, you suck. But as more and more undead travel to fulfill the prophecy, as undead are caught in the crossfire of all these colliding forces, at some point or another they finally succumb. So as you journey through Lordran, you encounter greater souls, better items, stronger weapons, all from others who made it farther than the last.
What was the Expedition 33 quote? Keep on trucking. It's kind of like that. It's inspiring in a way to see that you got there, but somebody else was there first, so you know that you're like progressing farther and farther.
Even in death, the undead that came before you are helping you by leaving something useful behind.
Yeah.
You essentially get the accrued knowledge, weapons, skills, equipment, and items of every single traveler or unfortunate soul in Lordran.
For those who come after.
Because you are destined to succeed where others have failed. You're the main character, after all.
As I explained earlier, I'm the main character.
The chosen undead.
I haven't seen that in forever.
This also ties in with the game's difficulty. As an undead, finding purpose and striving towards a goal is what keeps you from hollowing. A slow process where a person loses their mind and sanity. Every gamer's goal when playing Dark Souls is to beat it. But what of those who never did? What of those who ran up against a wall they couldn't climb, a tower they couldn't scale?
I think DS2 has a counter where it will show you how many times the community has died. I don't know if they did that. I'm sorry, I just spilled my Red Bull. I don't know if they've done that in DS1 or DS3, but I always thought that was kind of fun.
They became the Hollows of Lordran. You see, you only become hollow when you quit. So by persevering through failure, you, the chosen undead, will feel great satisfaction when you overcome those challenges that gave you so much trouble.
Yes.
You will run up against an enemy that seems
Poor
unbeatable.
puppy.
You will die. You will fail. But it doesn't matter how many times you are slain, how massive and impossible the road ahead might seem, because so long as you push against the inevitable.
Okay, I'm not pushing up against that. That is my least favorite part of the game. They will shoot you down every time, and it makes me so mad.
And learn from failure, you will survive in Lordran, and you will survive the real world.
Yeah. What's scarier, beating DS1 or getting a real job? I'm gonna say real job.
And you'll come out stronger than before, ready to take on the next challenge.
Oh, fuck.
Hollowing in the Dark Souls universe is one of the coolest concepts I've ever seen a game present. It's a microcosm of losing your purpose in the real world. It could also be seen as a metaphor for depression. Those that go hollow submit to their darkest feelings, their sadness, dread. They give up and lose themselves.
Oh my god!
Life is about overcoming challenges, solving problems, and carving some meaning out of your existence. What value does a person's life have if they don't strive to accomplish something?
You have to be like a little bit motivated, right? For a long time, I was a really sad guy. Not to be like trauma dumping VTuber Andy or anything. And then one day I was like, you know what? I'm tired of this. I'm just gonna do things that give me purpose. So I started like working harder and going to the gym and making myself look forward to the next day, which is kind of like the story of Dark Souls. Just like keep going.
Satisfaction do you get from life when there are no problems to solve? Just as characters go hollow in Dark Souls, you too would go hollow in the real world if you did nothing with your life. There's far more to this game than meets the eye, and it's because of its open-ended method of storytelling that your interpretations might be different. They might be completely different. But no matter who you are or what you might think, just stay safe, friend, and don't you dare go hollow.
Oh yeah, I never did this. I really just kind of played by myself a lot. I think I just did seamless co-op Dark Souls, but it's actually a little bit harder when you don't know who the boss is going for, because at least if you play against the boss by yourself, you can kind of learn the attack patterns, but when you have to guess if it's me or the other guy, then it gets a little bit more difficult.
Now when it comes to gameplay, the combat in Dark Souls has a lot of depth too. There's so many cool weapons and badass armor. In this game, you can look like an onion. For Christ's sake, that's the armor Shrek would wear. Certain styles of weapons have different movesets, and everything has its advantages, disadvantages, and requirements. Except the Ring of Favor and Protection.
Oh, I love that ring! It's so good.
And you'll need to be smart about what you invest in. Pro tip, resistance is the best stat to level.
I literally just max dex and put no points in anything else, maybe a little bit in the stamina stat, and then I'm like, you know what? Just don't get hit. Just don't get hit. Oh my god! And look, he put googly eyes on the items. Aww.
Max it first. But this is where the currency, souls, what else did you think it would be?
I call
comes
it money.
into effect.
It made
Souls
people
are the
so
lifeblood
mad.
of your journey. If you die 2 times in a row without returning to the spot you first perished, you'll lose all the souls you had. You want to avoid this at all costs. But you also need to carry enough souls to be able to actually buy things. And I love this risk-reward playstyle that Dark Souls offers. Because the two-death system...
Every time something goes on screen, I hate that. But that's how you know I like the game, because I hate it.
means that you didn't learn from your first mistake and you made it again. If you can't get back to the spot that you first died. There's plenty of builds to experiment with, and that's where the fun begins. Because you can't realistically cover everything in one playthrough. You have to make decisions about what playstyle you like best, so you can optimize in it or try to find a general balance in between. Some weapons hit hard, but they weigh you down and are easy to dodge. Others can inflict status effects, and all the sets of armor offer different levels of protection.
There's like Wolverine claws.
Dark Souls has an amazing and rewarding progression system, and on the opposite side, it can be brutally punishing too.
Yeah.
Losing your souls and humanity too many times can set you back. And in my case, I felt I had to restart the game. But the knowledge I got from that initial playthrough stuck with me. It feels great to finally be able to use that sorcery spell you've had forever, or that giant great axe that looks badass.
Yeah, because you get enough
or to be able to not
stats.
bat roll while wearing full havels. These accomplishments give
Havel's
power,
ring is so good.
satisfaction, and pride to the player because they happen both in the long term and the short term. Because if you're like me, then you're creating and improving your build throughout the entire game.
I think that blacksmith, I think he's dead in Elden Ring. I remember being sad. No, it was DS3. I think he's in DS3, but he's dead.
Best part of it is, damn near everything is viable in PvE, especially dexterity, am I right, son bros? But the mechanics, the flow of combat is where the game truly shines. Because it doesn't matter how upgraded your equipment is, how good your weapons are, if you can't manage this little green bar right here, if you can't dodge, duck, dip, dive, and dodge, and block, you ain't gonna get through shit.
I do think, and you guys can say this is an unbased take, and I will stand by it, I do not care. I think Dark Souls is 90% knowledge. Like, if you just find an item that can be, like, super leveled and do a lot of damage, you're probably pretty good. And there's, like, there's a lot of cheese that people do. I remember I did the Elden Ring Twitch Rivals event. And a lot of that was just like people would struggle. Then you would look at your screen and some guy found this magic build that one-shots every boss. And he would just stand there, hit right button, and the boss would explode. So there's definitely ways to beat the game without even being good.
Green bar right here, this is your stamina, your soul, your life. Every action you take besides walking requires stamina. And it's the game's way of limiting what you're capable of. The entire game must be played around it. Unless you play a cheesy glass cannon sorcery build. Like
See, I just said that! If you just know what to build, then you can just win.
Weirbo. Keeping with the tradition of ambiguity, the only means of directly communicating with other players in front of you is through emotes.
Or rocks,
that aren't sold in
right?
loot boxes for once.
Yeah!
Holy shit!
Wait, I did pre-order Night Rain, and I think it did come with an emote. Yeah, and there's the rock. You be like, hello, thank you.
It adds a bit of comedy to the game, and it's the limitations of how you can communicate that makes it so fun.
And one thing that's also cool about this game is there is like, what's the word I'm thinking of? What would you call being nice before you fight? Like, if somebody invades you, a lot of the time they'll like wave, or you guys will just like go up and down, like bounce on it that like over and over, and then you fight. There's like chivalry, respect. There's like unspoken code of an invade. I don't know how to explain it.
Against the AI, you have to anticipate the movements of your enemies. Charging in recklessly without a plan is bound to get you killed. Yeah, you might be able to set that first-person shooter to easy and take out everything without sweating, but Dark Souls doesn't have a difficulty setting, okay, bitch? You gotta be a man.
I like that there's no difficulty setting. I don't care. It's better that way. Then you know everybody else who played it went through the same struggle.
Or a woman. Every enemy is different. and most likely, you're going to die to each one of them at least once. However, this is where Dark Souls offers a level of mastery for the players to achieve. By learning the patterns and moves of your foes so well, you can fight them without even taking a hit.
And it feels good too. Like, basically you just run into a wall 100 times, and then on the 101st time, you're like, I did it! It just feels amazing.
With enough time, practice, and patience, you can essentially trivialize the game across multiple playthroughs.
Yeah.
Sometimes I get cocky because I've beaten all the Souls games multiple times, and when I start to play carelessly is when I get reminded that I can't fuck around because I'll get punished.
I get
But
mad
whether
at
you've
myself.
got a bow, magic,
ragey.
miracles, or a crap ton of upgraded armor pieces, you use the tools you have to your advantage, and don't be afraid to use them. Dark Souls is difficult. You've heard that a million times.
I love
but
that
why
hat.
the challenge is so renowned is because it's not bullshit difficulty.
Yeah.
For the most part. Yes, there is trial and
Demon.
error,
Ah,
but again,
Saints
that
Funhouse!
connects with the themes,
Oh.
with the gameplay. You learn through failure. In
Yes.
fact, that's like the only way to learn.
He is an excellent teacher.
I think the funny thing is the more you play Dark Souls, the more you will probably die to gravity rather than bosses later. Gravity becomes the most insane boss of all time.
If I had to highlight some negative aspects of the game, Capra Demon fight is just so fucking stupid.
Yeah. Oh, you can throw bombs over the wall. I think what you do is you have to be like a little bit back, but you pick it up, and if you throw them like at a certain angle, it'll kill the dogs. And I'm not sure, but I think you can kill the boss too.
There's no way going
At least
through
the
that
dogs.
door
I
for
know you
the
can do
first
the
time
dogs.
that you're gonna come out on top. It's just not gonna happen. You have almost no time to take in your surroundings before you get ass blasted.
Yeah.
Ceaseless Discharge has
Oh,
some
he has
pretty
cheese, too.
questionable hitboxes, and the Bed of Chaos is, well, the Bed of Chaos.
Dang, actually, it's kind of funny. All three of the bosses he mentioned have like insane cheese. With Ceaseless Discharge, if you grab the items and you run as fast as you can back, if Ceaseless Discharge follows you to the wall, you can hit him like 4 times and then he just explodes and insta-dies. Then this boss too, there's like a lineup with the bow and arrow where you can like try to aim with the bow and then you throw a bomb and it'll kill the boss.
But aside from some of that cheap bullshit, there's a saying my martial arts master told me. Luck favors the prepared man. So if you hear about this place that's called
Blight Town.
No, not Blight Out, please! That guy who shoots the toxic pellets every time makes me so mad! People do hitless speedruns on this game, and there's a speedrun of doing the entire Dark Souls series without getting hit a single time. Oh yeah, that's the God Run, right? I think it is. Right? That's the God Run.
You might consider finding or buying gear and items that can counteract some of the shit you'd expect to see in a place called
Blight Town.
Of course, there ain't no gear that can counteract that frame rate. By preparing yourself with upgraded weapons, leveling up, and a utility bag full of tricks is how you can conquer the game.
Yep.
And that's something I really love. The preparation you make before the next challenge, before the next excursion. Combat is fluid and heavily favors one-on-one encounters. It's slow and methodical. Attacks have long wind-up times, but to counteract
That is
this,
long.
they have brutally punishing damage. A
Yeah.
lot of games might have the illusion of multiple enemies attacking you, but oftentimes they only attack one at a time.
I am such a B word. I see 5 people in the corner and I go, okay, not worth my time. I just run away. I'm so aggravating to watch play these games.
And act like mindless goons in the background. This is not the case with
Not
Dark
the
Souls. Getting
gooners.
surrounded is a surefire way of getting your ass handed to you and sent back to the bonfire. So playing smart, observing your surroundings, and trying to go for one-on-one fights is essential to success.
Yeah.
Let's talk about PvP.
Holy
In the early
frames!
days, it took players a while to figure out what weapons
Is this
and builds were
Bloodborne?
most effective against other players. It sucks to say, but there's a lot of mechanics that can be abused in Dark Souls PvP. I've run up against so many just cheesy one-shot
Yep.
glass cannon sorcery builds in this game. That's no fun. There's no fun going up against that every
There was this one, I will say, there is one build that always pissed me off, okay? It was in DS3. You could have an unlimited ammo crossbow, and people would pull up on you, hover on top, and you would just insta-die. That was so not fun at all.
single invasion. And for one, if you stock up on humanity, you can exploit that to pretty much heal indefinitely. There's a lot of cheese tactics too, and I've
Don't
been the
mind
victim of
me.
some very questionable backstabs and hitboxes.
Yeah.
Like, how the fuck did this arrow hit me? Are you serious? This was mostly forgivable in the original Dark Souls,
Yeah.
but in the remastered version, so many of these exploits weren't fixed. See this video by Inferno Plus for
Dark Souls Remastered is insulting. I gotta know.
full breakdown on these bugs because it highlights the problems with the PvP perfectly. But those moments when you get into a long-winded battle and
Those
both
feel
have
good.
drained your Estus and duel to the death, those are magical moments. One of the greatest things about this system are the benevolent
He's stuck in the
invaders.
purple Kool-Aid.
People who invade you with the apparent intention to kill you and pilfer your humanity, but turn out to give you nice items and leave. I once
Whoa, wait, there's like mules in this game that just give you stuff? The only guy I ever saw do that, I think, was in Fortnite, and what he did was he was like a traveling medic, and he would set up like a cart, and he would give people items.
had a guy invade me in Blighttown while I was dying by those toxic bastards. I had barely enough HP to survive it with no Estus left. When the invader approached me, I showed him I was out of Estus, and when I was going through the menus to drop a humanity for him so he wouldn't have to kill me, he dropped 2 for me, and then black crystalled out. That type of kindness
that's really
in such a
nice.
cruel, harsh world can really bring warmth to your heart and pick you up when you're down. There's a lot of nuances to the PvP system, too
How come I've only ever met hackers? I never had anybody do something nice for me.
many to go into, but being able to help or hinder the progress of others is an awesome idea. Just as your Estus Flask has a lore-related reason for being in the game, so too does the multiplayer.
We are
Aww.
amidst strange beings in a strange land. The flow of time
He
itself
just showed
is
me Priscilla's
convoluted,
feet.
with heroes centuries old phasing in and out. The very fabric wavers, and relations shift and obscure. There's no telling how much longer your world and mine will remain in contact.
Aww.
This statement by Solaire is a perfectly vague explanation. Do the summon signs and invasions send you back or forward in time? Do they send you to an identical world with a different chosen undead? There's no concrete reason behind it, but it's safe to say without the multiplayer component and this description from Solaire, Dark Souls would lose a lot of its magic. This is a journey where you don't have to go it alone. You can share
Yeah.
it with others, both good people and evil. Other players can leave their summon signs or messages, and depending on the player, they may be trying to help, hinder your progress, or send you off a cliff.
Yeah, and then when they send you off a cliff, they always point down. And it doesn't feel good.
The gameplay overall is fantastic and unique, offering limitless possibilities for experimentation and builds, and the PvP is there to not only enhance the experience but to build up the world of Lordran and offer great gameplay opportunities if you ever get bored of fighting the AI. But what's the first thing that comes to mind when you think of Dark Souls?
Hard and feet. Ah, boss battles! I messed up. Sorry, everybody. I meant boss battles.
That's right, it's the motherfucking bosses.
Yeah! What is that skin? Oh.
A classic staple of video games and the big highlights of Dark
Immersive.
Souls. I'd go so far as to say that this game revolutionized difficulty in the mainstream's view, because most of the bosses are so perfectly designed. They're all huge and epic, they intimidate and make us feel tiny.
When you see Big Boss, you go, okay. Then when you see one guy who's like human sized with the sword, that's when you're scared.
And even ones like Pinwheel that are super easy, or the
Except
Bed of
him.
Chaos that are cheap as hell. All these bosses offer value in either gameplay, challenge, lore, atmosphere, or all of the above. The first time going up against each one of these bad boys, I can safely say I died against all but Gwendolyn, Pinwheel, and the Demon Fire Sage.
He always look at his butt. It just stares me in the face.
The bosses evolve as you progress, and this is demonstrated
Cool
in
boss, I
3
love
fights in
Artorias.
particular. Stage 1 is the Asylum Demon, your introduction to bosses. This fatty is here to teach you the mechanics of these fights, and
I
use
love the
your
plunge attack.
surroundings to your advantage. Stage 2, the Bell Gargoyles, show the player that not every fight will be straightforward, and it
Yeah.
gives you a taste of a boss with more than one enemy.
This is whenever whenever you're supposed to realize the game isn't always supposed to be fair.
Finally, the famous Ornstein and Smo
I
battle
love
is
this
stage
fight.
3. These guys' attacks complement each other perfectly, and they attack in unison. They are what separates the wheat from the chaff.
So are they like brothers or lovers? Or are they both? I don't judge. I mean, I guess I should judge, but I don't know their lore.
This is the point that you get the Lord Vessel in the story, to discover your destiny. And if you can beat these two bad boys, you have what it takes to beat the game. Everything you experience through these 3 key bosses are the lessons you need to know to complete Dark Souls. Probably my favorite boss fight in the entire Souls series is the Four Kings.
What? I don't think I've ever heard anybody say that. That is a very rare opinion. Wow, what?
Because as far as I can remember, it's the only arena that can kill you instantly, and it is
That is
scary
true, it's
as
funny.
fuck. This is the most stressful fight in the game because the kings are not only challenging, have high HP,
And there's not even 4 of them.
deadly ranged and close-up attacks, but there's more than one of them.
Well, to be fair, I have a weird take where one of my favorite boss fights was Prince's, and then another one was Gale. I don't know if that's a weird take, though.
Their swords are so big they swing around behind them. I mean, the pressure to take out one king before the next one shows up as fast as possible is unlike any other pressure or stress I've felt in a video game.
I like that they kept, I think it was like this in the original, but after one of them just go, like when they explode, you can like still hit him and then it still does damage, which is cool.
The utter blackness makes it hard to gauge how far away the kings are. You have
I just lock
absolutely no
on.
cover to hide behind. And those homing bullets track you for like 15 seconds. It's so exhilarating. The Four Kings perfectly illustrate a well-designed boss fight in every way. Now, because gamers will play through using different...
You know, I think that's kind of nice. Like, you know how everybody has their own favorite Pokemon? I think that's nice that he has just like a very random boss as his favorite boss. Which makes me happy because, you know, maybe the Dark Souls bosses needed that little confidence pick-me-up. Maybe Four Kings was feeling a little bad. They were tying him up by, you know, his underpants on the flagpole or giving him swirlies. But now he has a fan!
Different builds, the difficulty of bosses can vary. For instance, in my first playthrough, I beat ONS on my second try. No lie. You know how I'm not lying? Because I died to both of these Hydras at least 15 times.
I don't like that one.
I could not get the fight down for the life of me. I'd either get shot by these spitballs or fall to my death. Going through it now, they're a piece of cake, but my first time, good lord. Every single boss in the game brings something new and different to the table.
Pew, pew.
Yeah, there's a couple stinkers like the Demon Fire Sage, but overall, they bring a whole new level of terror and fear to an already hostile world.
I think I always skip Centipede. I don't know if I've ever fought him. This area looks so cool. When you like get flown over here, the first time you kind of go like, wow. Like, it's beautiful. It's actually beautiful.
In my opinion, there are some games that should be played a certain way to get the most out of them. To tie into my earlier point about how Dark Souls makes you curious, the best playthrough is your first one, because you have no idea what's around the corner, what to expect. This is why I think watching guides or gameplay before you play the game yourself is a cardinal sin.
That's why when the Souls games drop, it's the most fun because nobody knows anything. So you can't really spoilers it. You can't really look up cheese builds. Everybody is just kind of struggling at the same time, and it's more fun.
You shouldn't do that, because half the fun is discovering things on your own and getting your ass whooped. Not many games give players such an extraordinary urge to explore and make it so dangerous at the same time. It's not even just the enemies you have to look out for. Gravity has killed me more times than any single boss. And if you head into the wrong direction early on, you'll likely get butt fucked by skeletons or ghosts. But
I don't want my butt getting by a skeleton! No! No skeletons allowed!
if you knew where to go beforehand because you looked it up, you're forfeiting part of the experience for convenience.
I went off Mr. Bones' wild ride.
And here's another thing. Finding out which areas fuck you up and which ones don't makes you want to get stronger so you can go back to those areas.
Oh, now I'm sideways. Here, let me... Don't get mad at me.
The temptation of new weapons, souls, plunder, and pillage is much too hard for adventurous gamers like us to refuse. That's what entices me about Dark Souls. Combined with the healing system, there's a risk-reward scenario. I mean, perhaps you're down to 2 chugs of that sweet Sunny D, but you feel close to a bonfire or special treasure. Do you risk death, your souls,
always
and
risk it,
humanity
always
to
risk
press
it.
on? Or do you turn back, play it safe, and try again? These decisions you make throughout the game are crucial. Which
I think is good that if you sit at the bonfire, it respawns all of like the additional enemies, which makes it even like worse to go back. So a lot of the time you push it because you're lazy. I do not want to fight through all that crap again.
bonfires you kindle, if you've got humanity to spare, you've got to scrounge and collect everything you possibly can to be prepared. Thank God there's no limitations on your inventory. Every choice made by the player can have its rewards and consequences. What separates Dark Souls from many other games is nobody is essential. The game doesn't have any arbitrary barriers on who you can and can't kill. Some NPCs will encourage you to help them, while others will try to send you on the path of bloodshed.
Yeah.
Most fools have more.
Kick that guy off. He is so awful. I hate that man. Kick him, kick him, kick him.
Humanity than they know what to do with. Now, who do you imagine will make the
He
best
touches
use
your
of it?
wife.
You could say there's even a morality system built into the game, but it's not measured with some arbitrary number. It's your own moral compass. When it comes to level design,
know how to
art
read a
style,
compass.
and feeling of the different areas, Dark Souls is perfection, if not the closest thing to it. Firelink Shrine is a great hub area that leads you to the following locations: Undead Parish, Undead Burg,
And they all feel the
Catacombs,
same.
New
Like, not the
Londo
same, but in the
Ruins,
same
Valley of the
area, like
Drakes,
same world.
Blighttown, and the Undead Asylum. That's 7 freaking locations accessible after the tutorial if you pick the Master Key.
I always
Remember
take
how
Master
I talked
Key.
about connection? The same thing applies here. That's freedom. That's choice. And yeah, many of those areas are tough early on, but there's nothing stopping you from going there anyways. One fan favorite technique is to go through the catacombs and kill Pinwheel early on so you can get the rite of kindling. Having a
Oh, I
series
never
of
did that. That's a good
complicated
idea.
Paths, shortcuts, secret areas, and hidden bonfires like this can make it difficult to remember where you are and where you need to go.
Yeah, Master Key is interesting because you can either, one, pick an item that opens, like, every door pretty much, or you can get, like, I don't know, a bomb. I wonder which one I'm gonna pick.
But it's like knowing the area around your house, and once you know, you never forget. You realize this type of connected level design is very beneficial to the game's experience. The designers want you to understand which paths lead where, and memorizing them will make your life easier. I want to emphasize that Dark Souls, in every aspect of its design, rewards the intelligent player, the attentive player. And because the world of Dark
can't
Souls
play this
can
game,
immerse
then.
so well with its scenery, the gameplay can immerse you on the same level. This might be somewhat controversial, but having the ability to warp between bonfires was
Yeah, we're talking about the warping, everybody. Keep your minds out of the gutter. I better not see any looking in chat. Pay attention.
something I thought you had to earn. Giving that tool to the player right after the first
Oh, Gundyr, so fun. Then you can do champion Gundyr and you can just parry him. Now I want to replay DS3. I haven't played DS3 in so long, man. This game is so peak.
boss might be convenient, but doing that risks losing one of the greatest parts of this game, a connected world that feels real. Each area offers new obstacles for the player to overcome, but every one of them shares a similarity. Gravity is a fucking bitch. Crystal Caves forces you to be attentive, or guess what happens?
I always die
Luckily,
there.
and you'll find this good game design in every corner of Dark Souls, the player can grab these prism stones on the way there, and use
What?
them to get through. Tomb of the Giants puts you in utter darkness, forcing you
You
to
can?
sacrifice your shield for a light source, or your helmet. Lost Izalith and Demon Ruins have large patches of lava. New
Oh, the
Londo
ring?
Ruins throws a bunch of ghosts at you that appear from above.
No, I always just knew where to walk. I didn't know that it came with a little cheat sheet. I just looked at the snow because I think like the snow will fall down and then you just kind of walk where the snow is. I didn't know you could do that. I just raw dogged that entire area.
below and can move through walls. The enemies you face aren't the only things hostile to the player. The environment is too. Good
Yeah.
old Sen's Fortress,
Ugh.
and of course, the Abyss. From Software got very creative with all the different ways they could kill you in this game, and that's something I appreciate. And as I keep reiterating, Dark Souls
Hey,
is
you got
very
a butt on him.
unorthodox in almost every conceivable way. And with the use of mods and thanks to Shazez, sorry if I said your name wrong, we can actually see how detailed the world is beyond the normal boundaries.
Camera mode!
Out of all the episodes that I've done of Boundary Break, I've never seen so much detail to a set of buildings that were off in the distance.
Cool.
Most games will have very low quality rendering on the stuff that's in the background, places you can't even access.
Wilhelm
That's
skip
to
look
save
like.
on memory. But Miyazaki doesn't give a fuck. He wants immersion, damn it, and he got it. Dark Souls puts so much effort into the backgrounds just to make you feel immersed. And another thing that kind of blows my mind is Dark Souls doesn't stop the gameplay to load in a new area. It does it
it's
seamlessly
awesome.
for the most part. That's an extremely underrated achievement because the necessity for a video game to load something doesn't disrupt the experience.
I agree, and there's no like really long, excessive loading elevators. So I do think that Elden Ring does have some, like I think you can go under the ground and you find the one elevator and it takes forever. It takes so long. You could probably finish a college class by the time you get down to the bottom of the
you would
area.
expect it to. What
It is
Dark
really
Souls
long.
also offers is a sense of scale, subtle grandiosity. That's a good word to know. For example, when you arrive at Firelink Shrine, you can see 3 more areas that are inaccessible. So add that to the 7 other areas I mentioned. You can see Anne Orlando way the fuck up there, and what I think is the Grand Archives. And you can also see the Great Hollow. Being
And
able
you
to
can
look
see
at
my
something
house. Did you
way
see
the
it,
fuck
Dad?
off in the distance, get there and look back at where you were is absolutely amazing. This is what makes Dark Souls feel epic. It feels like a real world that you don't have to watch a movie or a TV show or read a book to experience. You get to run around on your own.
Actually, this is so based. I always talk about this. I'm just not a big movie watcher. If someone wants to go watch a movie, I'd rather like play a game because at least I feel like I'm like interacting and having a good time. I don't know. I just have always been a game player, not a movie viewer.
You have control. Getting an idea of how large these vast kingdoms are and how small of a speck the chosen undead is in all of it. Even when you're down in 15 FPS town, these huge arches exist. You can see the swampy ground below. If you think about it, Blighttown is just a massive fucking sewer. And can we
yeah, and also a massive waste of my time. I hate that place.
just take a moment to appreciate the coolest area in all of video games? Ash Lake. The first time I discovered this area after braving through the curses in the Great Hollow, I was blown away. Staring at the endless sea, the massive trees around you, and
Is that what the redwoods look like? I've never been there, but they always talk about how the trees are huge. But I guess this is all blue. So this is the blue woods.
thinking,
Blue guy.
maybe each one of those
Wait a second. If this video gets uploaded to the YouTube channel, then maybe there's a chance that the YouTube people would know who Blue Guy is, because if they're watching a video about Dark Souls, then maybe they'll know who Blue Guy is. Wow.
trees connects to a world just as massive as Lordran. You might also think there's a lot of unnecessary climbing and running in Dark Souls, but no.
Yeah.
You're wrong. Taking that long-ass stroll to the last surviving ancient dragon is just epic. When you run down that path, you've got 2 whole minutes to think about what lies beyond. The interconnectivity of all the levels in Dark Souls is something From Software has tried to replicate for years. The first time going through Lordran, one of the most beautiful things about it was imagining what this place was like in its prime, before it was devastated. But now every Souls game after this has done the same thing, thrust the player into a land that's gone to shit. And it's just not as fascinating the 4th time around.
Yeah.
I think Dark Souls 1 really was lightning caught in a bottle. The atmosphere, look and feel of these places, it's iconic, beautiful, serene.
Yeah. Why do I like DS3 so much then? I really liked the story and the progression in DS3. And I really liked the bosses. And I liked how Bloodborne was very, like, Victorian themed. I thought it had probably the coolest theming. I thought DS2 had the coolest feet, I guess. And I didn't like Demon Souls.
And will be remembered above the rest.
And
when
Sekiro's
all
just
else
awesome.
has turned to dark.
Did I miss one?
So let's switch gears here. The characters in Dark Souls are very important, because they're the main road through which the game delivers its narrative. Primarily with NPC dialogue, which is optional, item descriptions, which are also optional, and the environments, which are optional to pay attention to.
Yeah.
The best choice that Dark Souls gives the player is whether or not you give a shit. Most games will force cutscenes upon you, and that's all well and good, but sometimes you just don't want to be forced
I love
to
her.
give a shit.
She's beautiful.
There's no dialogue-heavy scenes, and most of the characters you hear about throughout the game don't even speak to you.
I still don't even know why you sit in the coffin. I just kind of did it.
Be gone with you. You spoil my focus.
From Software's idea of a dialogue-heavy scene. Okay, can we translate this to the Yu-Gi-Oh team? Can this be their definition of a dialogue-heavy card? Then maybe more people would play.
Artorias and Sif are the two prime examples of how powerful the storytelling is. I've hardly ever seen such a strong emotional connection between fans and characters who never actually say a word to themselves. It goes to show that sometimes the best stories are told with fewer words.
Yeah, the dark stories, the dark souls.
The world of Lordran carries a very dreary, depressing atmosphere most of the time. Part of that is the feeling of hopelessness
depressed.
just from the insurmountable challenge you're posed with. And the other part is how every NPC represents something about this universe. A land
Patches represents my hatred. I hate you, I hate you, I hate you.
far off, an infested town below, a jolly realm of knights. All of them have survived this long in a world plunged into chaos, and they've all been negatively affected by it. Each one of them tries to carve out meaning, life, and sanity for themselves, and you witness that. Just like the story, many of the characters and their quest lines are far out of sight from the normal player. The world lives on around Firelink Shrine as you progress through the game. Characters move to and fro, some never return. Others can be found amidst a grim fate.
I think this is why I also liked Expedition 33 so much. It's nice to see people who are like, damn, this world is so effed, but they just keep trying and they keep trying to make a difference. And I don't know, I just like the stories that show that perseverance is a good thing.
They all have their own agendas. Some try to gather souls through selling merchandise. Others are content to wait it out. Characters have relationships with the other inhabitants of Lordran. They might hate, love, or serve one another.
Have you heard of the High Elves? Trust me, if ever a man has rubbed me up the wrong way.
Whoa!
Here, have you met that backwoods Shiva?
Look at him!
Believe me on this one, my love. A man is trouble. I can see it in his eyes. I just can. No doubt about it.
Yeah, where's Big Hat Larry?
Doesn't this all make for a much more interesting world than a stagnant hub area disconnected from the...
Yeah, I don't know. I just really like DS3. I don't know. Because the cool thing is that you can find the other hub world. Does that make sense? Like, it's cool to see it, like, abandoned, too.
The rest of the game, where people show up, rarely leave, and nothing really changes? Yeah, I thought so. The beauty of Dark Souls is everyone in this world is at risk of going hollow. Everyone knows about this, and it is something to be feared. When talking to most NPCs, they'll encourage you to press on and to avoid becoming hollow.
Don't get yourself killed. Neither of us want to see you go.
This is the way people used to talk when I lived in Houston and a hurricane was coming.
It's safe here. Can't bear the thought of going hollow out there.
Goodbye then. Be safe, friend. Don't you dare go hollow.
Oh, hello. Terrific to see us both in one piece.
Aw, everybody cares. So
Voice
cute.
acting in this game is phenomenal. I think we all remember the gung-ho voice of Siegmeyer of Katarina, or the luminous and friendly words of Solaire.
You really are fond of chatting with me, aren't you? If I didn't know better, I'd think you had feelings for me.
Aww.
Dear me, pretend.
Maybe I do.
Or the deep, imposing yet compassionate conversations we had with Goth.
Good. What is bravery without a dash of recklessness? Does it sound like what is bravery without a dash of recklessness? I've taken a liking to thee.
But to go back to the hopeless and depressing tone of Dark Souls, what's brilliant about the game is how the chosen undead could easily be interpreted as the villain in all of this. You kill Quelaag in order to get to the second bell, not knowing her motivations to steal humanity to heal her dying sister. You only realize this after the fact. You help Siegmeyer at every turn, robbing him of the adventure he so desperately craves, making him feel worthless, and he follows on a last adventure.
Oh.
By learning all the spells from Logan and Griggs,
I always call him Big Hat Larry. I don't know why. It's easier for me to remember the name Larry than Logan. I'm sorry.
they have nothing more to teach you, and in a desperate search for more knowledge, they lose their sanity in the Duke's archives. If you show a Chaos Pyromancy to Laurentius, he's so enthralled by its power he goes to Blighttown to seek it out. But he can't see Quailana, and his mad search for powerful pyromancy ends up making him go hollow. You're forced to fight Sif, whose motivations, just like Quelaag, are not understood.
Yeah, but also you're doing a nice thing for Sif. Or maybe I'm coping because I don't like hitting the dog.
Sif wants to protect you from the Abyss, and you killed him for it. The primordial serpents, Koth and Frampt, are such bizarre creatures.
Yeah, they're
like
weird.
These cartoony, mystical snakes that appear to be manipulating the events of the game. You can't kill them. To me, they feel like all-powerful beings in a world that's losing its power, which makes them all the more cool.
Yeah.
One of my favorite characters is the Crestfallen Warrior. When you first arrive at
He's
Firelink,
sad.
he taunts you, tells you the prophecy is hopeless, you're doomed to die. The Crestfallen Warrior's only goal was to sit at the shrine and berate all the undead who show up.
Wow.
Heroes come and go at Firelink, but he remains. He does give you helpful information and tips, no doubt things he's picked up from other travelers or in his own journey, and that brings him satisfaction. He keeps
never
you up
talked
to
to
date on
him.
what's happening at the shrine, and when you ring the second
I think I
bell to
killed
reveal
him.
you are the chosen undead, Frampt appears, who guides you from there. The Crestfallen Warrior becomes obsolete. There aren't any newbies for him to give tips to. His purpose is lost.
You took his germ. You took his germ.
And he becomes hollow. This melancholy tone is exemplified perfectly in Solaire, a fan-favorite character for good reason. He's the most optimistic person in Lordran.
I love
And by
him.
helping him find his son, he loses his sanity, and you're forced to kill him.
Aw.
Happy endings are rare in Dark Souls, and that's what makes it so.
I don't know. Is there someone who had a happy ending? I'm trying to think. Can you guys think of a Dark Souls character who ended up happier? You, I guess. Yeah, you're kind of an asshole. But like an NPC. Is there any NPC who had a good ending? Oh, Guinevere? Yeah. Yeah.
So special. So what do you find at the end of your journey? After escaping the asylum, fighting through the undead
You find
burg,
yourself.
locating the bell in the undead parish, braving the depths,
Rats.
trudging through poison-infested Blighttown, traversing the treacherous Great Hollow Tree, discovering the forbidden Ash Lake, scaling the deadly Sen's Fortress, after basking in the light of Anorlando, warping to the painted world of Ariamis.
That's my
getting
favorite
lost
place
in the
for one
dark root
reason.
garden,
Actually, two
witnessing
reasons.
the dark descend upon Ulasil, sneaking through the New Londo ruins, passing the tainted knowledge of the Duke's archives,
does it
trekking
look like I'm
through the
running?
lava-stricken demon ruins, marching into Lost Izalith, after advancing beyond the catacombs, staving off the dark in the Tomb of the Giants, and arriving at the Kiln of the First Flame. After defeating the mightiest creatures in Lordran,
Yes, the
what do you
song's coming!
find beyond the door you worked
The
so
song's
hard
coming!
to get to? Ash and a fading flame. You enter the kiln and find not a man, nor a god, but a hollow. A once mighty lord whose time has finally run out.
Parry that!
A lord with nothing left but to defend the flame he cherished so much.
So cool.
So it's come to this.
I hope he talks about the music. The music is like, it's crazy because when you get to an endgame boss, you expect like, ba 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 ba, like boom, like cool music, like oh my god, we're fighting the endgame boss. And then it's like kind of sad. It's sort of like melancholic. It's crazy. It's really good music design.
A duel for the ages. I wouldn't have it any other way.
You can cheese him too. There's like a chug jug technique. Gulp, 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 gulp. Get him, Solaire! He's dead. He's I messed that up. Yeah, Raposta! The parry button's already enough cheese. Yeah, he has like a parry cheese where if you parry the attack, then you chug jug your Sunny D, he'll keep doing the same attack, and you can keep parrying it and stabbing him and parrying and stabbing and parrying and stabbing, and then he just dies.
And after delivering the final blow, do you save Lord Dran? Do you deliver it to the dark? Do you find any answers?
Where
Probably
are the souls?
not, but you feel something. The words you'd use to define what you just experienced in the world of Dark Souls are on the tip of your tongue. You can't say it for some reason, but I think I know. A masterpiece.
It is a masterpiece. Wow, good video! Oh, my booba, sorry. Good video, that was really good! I love Dark Souls. I love Dark Souls. My first Souls game was Sekiro. Then I played DS1. No, then I played DS3. Then I played DS1. Then I played DS2. Then I played Demon Souls. Then, wait, actually, I think Bloodborne was like my third. Now let's watch a Brit defend DS2. I got sent a video about how good DS2 was, and it was a 2-hour-long video. Bro was fighting for their life out there. They were fighting hard.